Hey guys, Shui here. Sorry for the slight delay on episode 8. Got caught up in the holidays. I'm sorry. Hope everyone had a good holiday. Hope you got some good stuff for Christmas if you celebrate. We are here with episode 8, the long awaited Joshi Wrestling episode. I don't know a lot about Joshi Wrestling. I've seen, obviously with AEW, you see some stuff with New Japan, which obviously is more so for the men. But, Willow got to fight in Stardom, and you see Mercedes Monet in Stardom, as well as a lot of hype around Julia, who I honestly don't know much about besides what I've seen on Twitter. Damage Control making waves with Kairi Sane, Asuka, and Iyo being the champ. And then you look at AEW with Riho and Shida. So I figured, hey, let's learn more about Joshi Wrestling and Joshi cards, guys. So I'm going to bring on the author of the 2022 Japanese Pro Wrestling Trading Card Almanac Premier Edition. I just want to make sure I got that right with the author, Richard Velligan. I bring him on. We talk, some basics about Joshi Wrestling cards. I kind of feel like it's, for me who doesn't know a lot, Joshi Wrestling for Dummies. I'm one of the dummies. So I hope you guys enjoy and have a happy new year. Whatever you'd like me to refer you to. This, I didn't even know your real name until today. So guys, I am here. We're currently recording with my guy, Rich Bellington, excuse me. No, Velligan. Holy shit, I'm terrible at this.
It's all
So,
good.
the author of the Japanese Wrestling Card Almanac. Rich, how are you doing today?
Fantastic. How you doing?
I'm doing all right, man. I as you know, and some of my listeners who I've brought this topic up a while ago when I originally brought up the subject, we've been going a little bit back and forth, mostly me just getting busy, but I'm really excited to talk to you about Joshi cards and Joshi wrestling in general, as I'm sure you already know since you're a fan.
Sure.
It seems like a pretty good time for Joshi wrestling in the States from an outsider perspective. I don't know if you agree with that.
Oh yeah, with New Japan bringing the strong belt over for the women. Yeah, it's definitely a good time now.
I mean, Kari coming back in America, Iyo is the champ, Asuka
Yeah.
is getting a strong push, even in AEW. I mean, Shida's had some great runs, Riho, and you're even seeing a lot of, I don't know how I would say this, but a lot of the foreigners who go to Japan, like a Mariah May and other people
Yeah,
like that, coming into the States and getting prominent roles right away.
definitely.
So it seems like a very good time to be a Joshi card collector slash someone who's been interested. So I'm going to be honest, I really don't know much about it past what I've seen. I don't know if you follow Collecting with Caleb on
I do.
Twitter. I've
Yes.
seen a lot of the stuff he's posted. I've seen stuff you've posted. I've seen a few things posted by, I'm trying to remember, it's like Card Pros on.
Yes. Card Pros on Instagram.
Yeah, so I actually sold him the one of one ringside of Iyo Shirai from Select last year. So that's how
Oh,
I originally met
nice.
him. And I remember we had spoken a while ago because my friend pulled the Eichmann Gyro one of one from the Blasters last year, the mezzanine. So
Nice.
yeah. So how exactly did you get into Joshi wrestling? How did you get into collecting Joshi cards? Like, what was the alert to you? Where did this come from?
Um, Basically just the same way of you start watching wrestling and then you pick up. My forte into it was Japanese, New Japan, All Japan, and then just starting to trickle in, and you start seeing Stardom advertised, and you start seeing um, Tokyo Joshi Pro advertised. And it's just you start picking up these little things here and there. You see clips
Right.
online, or you just start checking out, a match here, a match there, and then all of a sudden you just start watching the shows, and it captures you. Um, it's a high energy. The male shows are good, but
Right.
something about the Joshi shows is just quick, compact, high energy.
They
Um,
hit hard too, man. From
yeah,
videos I've seen, these ladies and men too, the strong style, but these women hit hard.
it's funny because there are some where you could tell they have a history with somebody,
Right.
whether whether it's good or bad. and they tend to take it out in a match as opposed to, taking it easy.
Definitely.
Which is the Japanese style, is
Right.
the hard hitting. So it goes hand in hand with it.
Right. I actually just listened to Jericho on his podcast had Mariah May come on, who we briefly spoke about earlier, and she was talking about how she got to have a match with Julia before she left, which she was super excited about, and she went to speak with Julia, and Julia, I guess, is known as being more hard-hitting than some, and basically told Mariah May, like, hey, I can take it easy on you if you want, and Mariah's like, no, the whole reason I'm wrestling you is to wrestle that style, so don't go easy on me.
Yeah.
And I've as someone who doesn't watch a lot, I've seen parts of, what was it, Iyo Sky versus Penta a while ago.
Oh, yeah.
And that match was just like, seeing Iyo in that match gave me a whole new respect for her. Because when I saw it when she was back in NXT and I saw that, I'm like, man, she's destined for great things. You can just see she's great in the ring. She has a lot of charisma, and like everything they're doing with Damage Control, I'm a big fan of right now.
Yeah. And even going further back, if you check out like any intergender matches that Minoru Suzuki has had, there's one where he had one with Asuka back in the day, and he just lays it in, and it's like somebody seeing a man versus a woman would think like, spot here, like, no,
he doesn't take it easy.
But the end of the match, go over, shake hands, rub him on the head, good job, and that's it. Like, no hard feelings. But he's not going to take it easy on you.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people view it as, and I know WWE and AEW are, they shy away from intergender wrestling. During my childhood, obviously, there was the exception of China,
sure,
and other people, and I kind of wish they'd book Rhea Ripley like that, since I think it could lead to a lot of cool stuff. But in America, it's really impact a lot of indie stuff, and in Japan, it just doesn't really seem as big of a deal about the intergender wrestling. On the one hand, though, I've always been curious, and I don't know if you know the answer to this, why, like, is there Stardom and New Japan? Because I know they're affiliated, but why is there like two separate entities versus them just like putting them together?
Originally, so New Japan was its own company. They were bought out by Bushiroad,
okay,
the parent company, who then also later on they bought out Stardom. So that they, and from the get-go they had said like they are separate companies. They're not running together shows. Like each of them will stand on their own. Whether that changes in time, who knows? But as of now, they're still separate. Wrestle Kingdom coming up. New Japan has a show at the Dome that morning. Stardom has a show at a smaller place near the Dome. So they're keeping them separate for now.
Okay.
But it's funny because the New Japan Strong in the States, they combine men and women into the show. So it's, I get it because it's, the star power, try to get everybody into one show that you can.
Yeah.
So that makes sense.
No, definitely. I actually, I didn't get to see any of the women perform, but I did get to go to a New Japan show when they came to DC, which was
Capital Collision.
Yeah, I went to Capital Collision. It was quite the experience, getting to see Will Ospreay. Really, that was the first time I saw him in person, and just seeing like the ring being smaller, just how much more hard hitting. Just even like, I really enjoyed the fact that there was a Japanese announcer. The theme songs, even of like, for example, Moxley, he has different theme music in New Japan, which to me, like, I had no idea. And you come out and you're like, okay, because you can tell how much someone like him and Eddie really like appreciate the arts. Okay, so let me look. I'm looking at the list here. So in America right now, we have a decent amount of Joshi wrestlers. I would imagine like a lot of these folks who come over, some people get pretty well utilized. You look at Iyo, you look at Asuka, they've had pretty good utilization. Then you look at someone like Saray.
Well, it took years for them to get. It took
years, right?
Yes. NXT, they had really good success. And then for years they were lost in it. They get a slight push and then it would be on the back burner for a few years. I think they're more inclined now to push wrestling as opposed to the entertainment aspect when it comes to the women wrestling in the States right now.
You even see someone like Asuka, Iyo, even Shinsuke now, where they do the subtitles for him and actually do his promos, which I think is a great touch, because I know a lot of collectors I've spoken to, one of the main gripes they have with Asuka, with Iyo, with Shinsuke is just like, oh, they're not cutting promos in English. And I think they've done an amazing job packaging all of them to kind of get around that and help develop their characters a little bit more. As far as the Joshi wrestlers you've seen in America, is there anyone you feel like has really been underutilized since they've come over to the States, or someone you'd like to see get a better push in the States?
Well, like you mentioned, Sarai.
Was she really big in Japan? Like, for someone who's not really too hip to it, past like when I saw her come to NXT, like, how big was she in Japan before she came over?
She was she's like up there now with like the Stardom popularity of people, where you got like Starlight Kid and you got Julia. Like, the buzz was with her before the buzz was with them, and her going to NXT was supposed to be pretty big, and that fizzled so bad.
Yeah, she came in. I remember like her first little like vignettes or whatever where she's coming in. They're kind of building up that she's coming, and then it kind of went nowhere. And then they kind of had her do the schoolgirl bit that made her feel like an anime character that just seemed really forced and unnatural and kind of like too kinky, if that makes sense. Like, just a little too much, where
too stereotypical.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's what I'm looking for, is a little too much. Because I know people were saying, I know she recently re-signed, but I think she had an opportunity to come back, and she was even like, I don't really want to come back, which I don't blame her, man. Like, you only get so many opportunities to like present yourself, especially on a big stage like WWE. That must have been heartbreaking for someone like her, who probably like, that was the goal for many wrestlers growing up, is like, I want to go to WWE one day, and to make it and then not really make it must have been really tough for her.
And I mean, think about, you're moving your life
right
4,000 or 5,000 miles to a place where you maybe know 2 or 3 people, maybe 5 people,
barely know the language too,
and it didn't, there's nobody. All the other women were already in WWE, so yeah, if they live in Florida, sure, she might see them, but it's like that's you're on your own basically.
Right. I saw this recent thing. I think there was an NXT recruit who came from like, I want to say Brazil, and she ended up leaving recently because she's like, I came in, I only knew Portuguese, and I had no friends, and like no one was talking to me, and I just felt completely alone and isolated. And she had a whole bunch of other string of bad stuff happen, but the bottom line is like the language barrier was too tough for like, and she wasn't able to really like acquaint herself with anyone, and she ended up pretty much just quitting because she's like, I don't want to be here anymore.
Well, so, I mean, think about like, yeah, you're there to train and learn,
right?
But everybody's there to train and learn.
And what makes you different?
Somebody's not going to give up their spot for you.
Hell no.
So it's it's cutthroat. It's the strong survive and the weak move on.
Yeah, I mean, that definitely makes sense. Speaking of strong, I had one of my customers wanted me to ask you specifically about Miko Satomura. So I believe her nickname was the Final Boss, correct?
Yep.
So I don't have a lot of experience with Japanese wrestling cards, but I had some people on Whatnot ripping old BBM packs and actually pulled a very, very old Miko card. So I guess the question is like, what's her standing in Japan? Like, is she viewed as like kind of like a legendary type character? Is she really respected like within the industry? Because I guess she came to WWE a little bit late. So, and I don't even think she's with the company anymore, I believe.
No, NXT UK, she was prominent there as
well, she came back to fight Roxanne not too
she
long
came
ago.
back to the States after that. But she was mainly in the UK for training. She would be there for weeks at a time, training, wrestling, and then would leave to go back to Japan for couple weeks, and then come back. Like, yeah, she lives up to the name. She's probably like the last of the old school, where you learn the old school ways, you train the old school ways. Some people see that as like maybe abusive, but that's how it was done back in the day.
I mean, that's what they said about the Heart Dungeon too. Was
that's how you get the respect,
right?
And some people, the newer people probably don't get it because it's new days, new times. But the old school hardcore, that's how it was done.
So is like Emi Sakura kind of in that same lane? Is she kind of newer? Because I know they mentioned she helped train, I believe, Riho and Hikaru Shida. So I don't know if she helped train anyone else or is kind of in that same lane as Miko, or how that works.
Miko probably was training, if I, off the top of my head, I think 3-4 years prior to Emi.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Emi actually has a surprisingly good, I'm not going to say her spots go for a lot when I run case breaks or anything like that, but I always have people ask me about her, and there's a lot of people who genuinely seem to like her. It's never like a hard spot to move, I will say.
She has a great character. Her presentation on television is fantastic. She just has a presence, and she commands, that you put your eyes on her and watch her.
Oh yeah, her entrances, I remember just being so great when she first came to AEW. She does great. I was literally saying this to some of my customers. I care about her more than Shida. I know Shida's won titles and all this other stuff, but she comes in and I'm able to tell a lot more of the emotion and what's going on with Emi versus Shida, who, again, I have nothing against Shida. She's a great wrestler. I find her interesting. I just feel like they're kind of missing something with her in AEW to make me like really care. Like people care about Iyo or care about Asuka or whoever,
It's the again, I think it comes back to like promos, like to get like in depth to like see the person. That's she has promos, but they don't really go anywhere other than to hype up a match.
Right.
Like they've never done like a deep dive on her character, and her character is really interesting. Her background is really interesting. Like it should be showcased.
I mean, I watch a lot of AEW. I couldn't tell her what her background is, and I've watched a ton. Like AEW got me back into professional wrestling as heavily as I'm in it right now. So it's like seeing Shida, and she's what, 3-time champion in AEW now, and when she lost or she beat Saraya, I was just like, this is a missed opportunity. Why are they letting her win again? Nothing against Shida, but it's just like, if they're going to keep pushing her the way she's been pushed, like what's really the point, unless they're going to change it and add some new dynamic to her character,
Yeah, that was the unfortunate. I think they had somebody in mind to put the belt on, but they didn't want to take it from Saraya with that person. So it made sense. I mean, that's a team player willing to do whatever for the company.
Yeah, definitely. I just felt like, especially someone like Saraya, they could have milked that longer, and like, how long, and I'm not going to say, she's the CM Punk of women. I'm not getting at that. But you look at like how when he had the title, he had it for a while and then he lost and blah, 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 versus, her, she had it for like 2 months and then kind of lost it in a almost throwaway style match, in my opinion,
it almost makes you wonder, like, did she win the belt as like a thank you for coming here?
Oh yeah, it was definitely, we're in the UK. We're in the UK, like,
Yeah, and that was like, there was a lot of people that were like, if she wins here, at the UK, it's just because it's a hometown show.
Yeah.
Like they put no money into it, saying like, she worked hard. She did work hard to come back.
Yeah, it made sense.
Like,
yeah,
there were so many other people in the company that could have had that spotlight. I mean,
Oh,
and
definitely.
and chances are it probably was Jamie Hayter if she didn't get hurt.
Yeah, no, I would say it probably was Jamie. It just, again, to me, you're bringing in someone like Saraya, you're giving her the belt. It's a good opportunity to elevate, like, for example, I don't know if she was ready at the time, but someone like Willow Nightingale or just someone else on the roster, just use it as a chance to elevate them versus giving it again to Shida, who's pretty much the same character and already has won the belt 3 times. So it just seems like a missed opportunity on that front.
Well,
Oh,
and
sorry.
going with Willow, that's where the New Japan Strong belt came in
Yeah, when
when
Sasha
everything.
got hurt.
Yeah, it was like that was an audible. You could tell that was
Oh,
not
yeah,
planned.
100%. 100%. But I like what, again, briefly going off of Joshi wrestling, I do enjoy Willow. I like her upside. I'm more so just getting at, like, with when you're bringing in those types of veterans to come in, especially established veterans like Paige, Saraya, whatever you want to say, it's a good opportunity to elevate someone else. And I just felt like they
Definitely.
dropped the ball. Okay. One of the main things I wanted to ask you about, and we're going to get more into specific set type stuff coming up,
Sure.
but I really wanted to know, who is Julia? Why should American collectors be looking into her? Why is she the talk of all wrestling? And where do you think she's going? Are we going to see her? Because from what I'm seeing, and it's the dirt sheet, so hold it with a grain of salt, but it seems like a lot of people are thinking she's going to end up in WWE, perhaps with Damage Control. Maybe she takes Bailey's spot. Like, why should we care about Julia? What do you think about Julia? And is she the blue chip prospect that we've been presented so far?
Julia's not a blue chip. She's like an already complete package.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah. She speaks English. I mean, she speaks many languages, but she does speak English. She can wrestle. She can. Her presentation is off the charts. She just carries herself like a superstar. Like when you go to an indie show compared to going to a WWE show, you see a superstar in WWE.
Right.
You see a wrestler in an indie show, but you see the presentation of a superstar at a WWE show.
Right.
That's how she carries herself. To make the most money in her life, it's probably coming to WWE.
Oh, 100%. If you're going to make the most money, WWE, as much as I love AEW, I'm a realist here, man. WWE is the Walt Disney of pro wrestling. You're going to make the most money by far, barring other things happening.
Just selling merch.
Yeah.
It's, yeah. Unfortunately, like, I think recently she's come out and said some things. She's basically been the vocal person of the locker room where they had some issues behind the scenes that usually don't get out. And a lot of people saw that as like, she's making a play because, hey, you want to keep me, you're going to listen to what I'm saying because I'm speaking for everybody. So, I mean, that took guts.
Yeah.
And slowly they're starting to put out little things here and there that they are making changes to what is going on and the scheduling and how much the girls are wrestling there.
It's funny you mentioned that because Mariah May, literally, again, I'm going back to that Jericho interview, mentioned how when she was on the Stardom tour, would talk to some of the guys who were in New Japan, and they were talking about how much they had to wrestle a month versus the women. And I believe she said the women were wrestling almost 3 times the amount that the men were.
If you ever kind of sit back and look at like a tour for New Japan, if there's a big match, most of the time the main stars are in tag team matches, 6-man tags. They're not doing a ton of the work. They meet up. There may be a little exchange with whoever they're going to wrestle in a month.
Right.
They build up some heat. The match ends and they're talking at each other, and but Stardom, not so much. It's like one-on-one all the time. They may have a tag here and there, but yeah, it doesn't stray too far from one-on-one competition most of the time.
Right. And she was saying too, she said the rings there were harder than the States too. So
I mean, you can hear you hear the sounds of the thuds.
Right.
compared to a ring in the United States, they are definitely different.
Oh yeah, no. I as a kid, I was like, yeah, it'd be great to be a wrestler. And now, as an older guy with some back problems and seeing that ring, I'm like, I can't even imagine taking a.
Oh,
I got enough trouble getting out of bed with ease in the morning. I'm like, man, taking a bump on that just doesn't sound too appealing. So,
and you
we
would think with all the advancements of technology that they would have come up with padding around the boards or and
just
it's just
something, man.
it's
Like
still just boards with a piece of fabric down and cover.
very minimal mat. Yeah, like
Yeah.
I don't. I'm gonna be honest. If they made the ring a little bit, softer, it wouldn't ruin my interest in the product.
No.
Like I wouldn't be mad at these guys not getting their, the crap kicked out of them just by falling on the mat.
Yes, to save them from back surgeries at the age of 35 and 40 years old.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. Yeah. I've always heard you avoid back surgery as much as you can.
Yeah.
So, Julia, if you had to guess, do you think she's going to go to WWE or you think she's going to stay in Japan? Because I just feel like with everything going on with AEW right now, if she was going to leave, she'd probably just leave to go to WWE, if I had to guess.
Yeah, it depends on. WWE is probably going to be the place if she does leave.
Right.
But the only, AEW does allow the schedule where you could do Japan at the same time.
True. It helped with Will Ospreay as well when they signed him.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, it's all in how the details are worked out. If you have to be there for the big shows for the U.S. company, but you can do the big shows, in Japan. Well, that's a big difference, and especially if you don't have to uproot your life. You could just live in a hotel for 2 weeks and then go back.
Right. Well, we kind of touched on it. Again, going through the bullet points I have. Do you feel like Joshi wrestling in America is like, do you like the representation? Do you like what you see on television? Do you think it's going in the right direction? Is there anything in particular that you're kind of like, we already kind of touched on Saray and how they dropped the ball on representing her in their American product, I should say. But overall, like, how do you feel about representation of Joshi wrestling in American promotions?
The big time, AEW, WWE, Impact, they're okay, but I think the indies do a really good job with the promoting of Joshi wrestlers. They're showcased. They're the draw for that show, and that helps because you show them what the hype is about.
Right.
They focus on their strong points, and people enjoy those matches.
It's interesting you say that because again, you're way more well versed than I am, and I'm only really going off of what I see on the social media, what my customers tell me about, and a name that immediately came to mind is Maki Ito. Did I say that right?
Yeah.
and if I mispronounce anyone, please correct me. I really want to be pronouncing everyone's names right, even yours, Rich. But I see, like, she came to AEW. I thought she had a very, I was surprised they didn't sign her. When I went to the show and saw her, people loved her.
Oh, yeah.
A lot. Like, she was super over with the AEW crowd. Seems like a missed opportunity, and not everyone has to be world heavyweight champion. She could have just been a part of the roster and kind of like the Danhausen vibe or Orange Cassidy or whatever. And I saw some of her work at GCW, and people love her there, man.
Yeah.
Like, she's super over.
Everywhere she goes, people dig what she's doing. Everybody gets into it.
Yeah, it's just surprising to me that no one's really taken a chance. And she was also, I believe, wasn't she a former idol?
Yeah, that's what she comes out to the ring and starts singing. That's where she started, was as an idol.
So guys, for those who don't know at home, and Rich, please correct me if I say any of this stuff wrong, but in Japan they have idol culture, which is kind of like our equivalent of pop singers, and they'll have these monstrous groups. I was actually in I was in Japan years ago, and I saw some group, it was called like the Akihabara 64 or some crazy where it's like they had double digits pop singers just in one group. So it's just a whole different culture that we don't know. But a lot of women, it seems like, transition from, being idols into wrestling.
Well,
So,
it's not as much now, but Stardom several years back, that was a big presentation of the wrestlers coming out, as they would do a little dance or a little song and dance coming out before they went to the ring or in the ring.
right.
So they've kind of gone away from that. There's still a show here or there where they do it, but for the most part, like, yeah, they've kind of strayed away from it. But it's their culture.
Oh, it's their culture, man. Which, by the way, I'm sure a lot of people want who I've talked to, but if you ever get the chance to go to Japan, man, I strongly suggest any of the listeners, or I don't know, Rich, I'm assuming you've probably been at some point.
I have, and I'm actually going back in next week.
Oh my God, I'm so jealous, man. I miss it. I miss it so much. I was out there for almost 2 months one time, but back in my music days, I had a rapper friend go out there for a tour, and he was like, "Yo, come out," and I was like, "Hey, why not?" But that's a question for another day. We got a few minutes before I have to refresh the stream, but while we're here, like one last question before we refresh, and then if you're okay, we'll come back with part 2.
Go for it.
So, who do you think are the next? Obviously, we spoke about Julia. In your opinion, Rich, who are people that we should be like checking out, looking out for their name? Someone card-wise, even, where you're like, all right, that's someone that I've been seeing come up who could be like the next up in Japan as like, whether it's Julia, Mariah May, Iyo, like who's that next person? Is there anyone coming on the pipeline as far as popularity that you've been looking out for?
I mean, there's always popular wrestlers. It's just a matter of they want to come to the States and wrestle.
That's very true. The comfort level is just big.
Yeah. Starlight Kid, she's been wrestling, I think, since like 2015 or 2016, and she's just turning, I think, like 22.
That's nuts. I remember Riho was wrestling since she was like a young teenager too. Like some of these guys wrestle for years.
I think Riho started training when she was like 9 or 10.
That's nuts.
Yeah, it's absolutely insane. But it's funny because, they're in their mid-20s and they've already got 10, 12 years of experience. It's like, whoa.
Right.
Yeah, whereas, here in the States, it's like, the only one I can think of that's somewhat young is Izzy.
Yeah.
that's wrestling she's wrestling on the indies now, so it's crazy.
Funny. It's funny you mentioned that, because I remember I listened to Busted Open I used to listen to a lot more, not as much as I used to. It's still a great show though, just time, But I remember Bully Ray talking about seeing like that girl Izzy training with someone when she was like 13 or 14, practicing taking bumps or something, and someone pulled a move on her or something, and he was like furious. It's like, oh, she should wait till she's 18, blah blah blah. And it's funny seeing like our ideals versus like a lot of the rest of the world don't really feel that way. I mean, you look up in Europe and South America, and there's like soccer and basketball players who are professional. Like Luka Doncic was playing in Spain when he was like, what, 13?
Yeah.
14? What I mean? And here, like, that's unheard of. The only thing close we have that is soccer. When I was a kid, we had Freddie Adu. Yeah, DC United, and then you see a lot more women are joining the NWSL. Shout out my guy, Mike Shamrock Cards. He does women's soccer breaks. You see a lot more younger people in soccer. So it's just interesting seeing like the clash of the American and low key the rest of the world.
Sure. Yeah.
Okay. Seeing if there's any last ones we can throw in here. Most of them are cards related. So, I guess we have 5 minutes. We can shove this one in too. Is there a big, like, what if for you? Like, is there someone who I mean, again, we spoke on Saray, we spoke on Miko, but like, if Miko had come to America sooner, or, I don't know if you'd really consider her, because, I felt like I probably should have asked you specifically, what is Joshi wrestling? So people could have that kind of thing. But like, what's her name? Bull Nakano?
Yeah. Oh,
Is she? Would you consider Bull a Joshi wrestler?
She's just a wrestler.
Just a wrestler. I mean, the video I've seen, she's kicking ass, or like Aja Kong or whoever. Like, is there a big what if? And I think when we come back from the first segment to the second segment, I'll probably just start by asking you, what is Joshi wrestling? I should have just started with that. But, you know.
It's funny because if you go back and like watch like the late 80s and early to mid 90s, that stuff still holds up to today.
Dude, she hit so hard. Her versus Medusa, or I should say Alundra Blaze at the time, like they had some crazy matches back then.
Everything was crazy back in those days. Nothing was off limits. It's, you know, that wrestling back then was like on par to what the men were doing. Again, like the term Joshi, I don't think that was really used back then. I think it was just, you know, ladies, you know, lady wrestlers. That's women wrestlers. That was it. Like they were throwing and kicking just like everybody else.
So what exactly, you know, because when I hear Joshi wrestler, I think Japanese women wrestling. Is there a more specific definition of what exactly a Joshi wrestler is?
I have always just equated it to like a Japanese trained female wrestler.
Okay.
I think through time it's evolved into a female wrestler that's training and wrestling in Japan. But yeah, I mean, I really don't use the term Joshi. I just call them wrestlers. Especially, no. I mean, if you see what some of them do, you know, there are some guys that can't do what they do. It's amazing.
Yeah. I feel bad now since I was naming the episode Joshi Wrestling episode, just because it's you know, as I feel like the older people get, and, you know, I don't know if it's just an America thing, but I feel like people really like, you know, you see with Facebook, people like narrowing down groups as much as possible. So like Joshi's kind of just a way to be like, oh, Japanese women's wrestling. Okay, cool. Quicker.
Yeah, it's a shorter term. Yeah.
Okay. Well, Rich, I will, you know, we'll take a quick break. I usually do some ads around here. Then we'll come back and do section 2. And we'll be right back, guys.
It's me, it's Brohan 503. And when I'm not slinging $1 star AEW singles or spending all my disposable income on Shui Nostalgia's AEW breaks on Whatnot and on the Shui Wrestling Network, you can find me to listen to the No Shui Out podcast, available on all major platforms.
Hey guys, Shui here. Just wanted to take this time to thank everyone for all the support over this year. It's meant a lot to me. Over 2 years of selling wrestling cards professionally on Whatnot. Who would have thought it? So I just want to take this time to wish everybody a happy new year and hope you have a great year, guys. Thanks.
Hey, what's up, you cheap fucks? This is Ralph from Sports Cards and More. And when I'm not getting bent over from you cheap fucks running singles, I'm listening to the No Sway Out podcast, hosted by Sway, available on all platforms.
Hey guys, Sway here again, wanting to let you know that we have a lot of great breaks coming up on Whatnot. I will be doing a BBM Ambitious break, so if you're interested in Joshi wrestling cards, make sure to check that out. I will have that on my profile very soon. We also have some more AEW breaks. And I am going to say this here first, I will be doing a PYW Undisputed break. So by the time you see this pod, that should be up. Make sure to pre-bid on the AEW break, the Undisputed break, and make sure to check out the Shui Wrestling Network. Also, check out our Facebook group, the Shui Wrestling Facebook group. If you search, it'll pop up. DM me if you want. I'll send you the link to either of them happily. We'd love to have you a part of both of our communities. And now, here's part 2. All right, guys, we're back for part 2 of the pod. I am here again with Rich Velligan, the author of the Japanese wrestling card Almanac. Rich, again, appreciate you hanging out with me, buddy. I guess the real place to start here is, as we dive more into specifically Joshi wrestling cards, I know it's probably a broad question, but where's the best place to really start if you wanted to get into collecting Joshi wrestling cards? Like, I have no idea about, I've heard of BBM before. I'm not too hip to the sets. I don't even, I was trying to find cards online earlier, and even trying to find them for sale isn't at least sealed boxes isn't the easiest task. So where's the best place to start if someone was trying to learn more about Joshi wrestling cards and get into this?
Sealed boxes, for anybody looking when the new releases come out. If you don't jump on them within the first 2-3 weeks, maybe a month, depending on the production, you're probably not going to find them. And then when you do find them, they're going to be double, triple price.
Low print or
supply and demand. Yeah, they don't print like AEW or WWE do. It's definitely much smaller of a print run. Plus, their autograph cards, they're numbered.
Right.
So, it might have a 100 card autograph set, but 100 cards is 100 autographs each. Well, then they're putting 2 or 3 autographs per box. It's not a lot of product to put in there. So jump early when you see them. The newest release, I think, is supposed to release Christmas Day in Japan.
So is that the I saw some pictures online today where it was like an acetate set, and there was like a Kairi auto and a few other people on there. The designs looked really cool.
Yeah, they look really awesome. Those are the autographs are printed on, which is really common in a lot of Japanese sets. They do color variations of printed autos.
Interesting.
Some sets, they can do a purple, they can do a green, they can do a red, and they're all, most of the time, they are numbered differently. So one might be numbered to 200, one will be 150, one will be out of 100. It's weird. Here we're used to autographs being like the main focus in a product, and there the inserts kind of take center stage in some products.
Yeah, with wrestling cards in America, I mean, obviously we're, usually immediately go to WWE and AEW, and you see the two different ways they go about their cards, where it's like, I've heard one of the main complaints about Panini is like there's almost too many autos because it's taking away the value of some of the autos just because it's way too accessible, versus the flip side, which is Upper Deck, where a lot of the product they have besides Spectrum, it's like one auto for every 4 boxes. So it's one of those, give and take type things. But it's interesting you're saying that the inserts are more popular, because you'll see a lot of cards here. For example, I saw a gold Roman Reigns insert, like the And New, I believe, from Prism. And the card, it was graded. It was a beautiful card. Went pretty cheap. Like, I was surprised, and it seems like in the States, like, even if it's a gold, a lot of these inserts don't really go for, it could be numbered the same amount as a base card, but it's just for some reason the inserts are not nearly as valued here.
Yeah, it's a lot of people, and especially main hardcore collectors of a certain wrestler, they tend to go towards the base insert or
right.
Parallel, as opposed to an insert with a numbered parallel, which in most cases it is. I mean, you can look at football and baseball and basketball, and a base card insert parallel would be much higher and more demand than just a regular insert parallel. So it kind of goes the same way. But it's all on who you collect too.
Definitely. Well, okay, so I mentioned previously BBM. I know BBM has been a big name in Japan since, at least I know, the 90s, and I know they do, like, I knew they did baseball cards because I've seen them have Ichiro and Shohei Ohtani cards. I've even seen them do women's bowling cards.
Yep.
So they do a wide variety of stuff. Outside of, like, what are the real card brands? Because obviously here we got Upper Deck, we got Topps, we got Panini. What are the card brands you're looking for in regards to Joshi wrestling? Like BBM, is there any other big names that people should be looking at?
BBM, they have the women wrestling cards, and then Bushy Road does some Stardom cards and some of the products mixed with New Japan. That's it.
And just reiterating, you were saying earlier, Bushiroad owns New Japan and Stardom.
Yes.
Okay, just for the, we're trying to, because you can tell I'm learning as I ask you questions, so I'm hoping that some of the listeners are learning as well. So Bushiroad, BBM, and I would ask you what are some of your favorite sets, but you're saying off top that a lot of these sets, once they're gone, and they're hard. Like, it's not like you're gonna find a hobby box of BBM just, after the first 2 or 3 weeks. So, historically, I guess, what are some of your favorite sets, or if there's a specific card or anything like that? And also, where's a good place for people to try to keep up with some of these releases and actually be able to find some of these releases before they're sold out?
Easy place to start is follow BBM on Twitter, on X. You may not be able to read what they're putting up, but they do put a lot of pictures. And then, the translate button makes it really helpful to be able to see what's going on. Usually comes out with information, release dates, not so much pricing, but it will have information on the base, the sets coming out, how many cards are in the set. Other than that, really, it's probably your best bet. As you know, the good thing about the hobby is it's not a hobby where everybody hoards the information.
Right.
Everybody, wrestling collectors they share a lot of information with each other. So when people, Japanese wrestling fans,
yeah, I was about to say,
share information with each other. Somebody sees a new set coming out, they put a picture up, they put some information, whatever they can find. It doesn't mean you're going to find it, but at least you see the information out there. So, like maybe in a month or two, you search eBay for that wrestler's name and you'll see that image of a card pop up that you might, be looking to purchase.
Yeah, I will say, I've met a lot of great people in the hobby, including yourself, Rich. The fact that you would take over an hour of your time to sit with some dude you barely know off of Twitter and talk to him about Joshi wrestling cards, like, I can't say enough to thank you. It's interesting because you'll meet a lot of great people who share the info, and then, in particular, Whatnot, which can be a little bit more cutthroat, a lot of people will hoard information as much as possible just because, you get a competitive edge as a seller or whatever it is. Specifically, I found, for the record, since you brought it up, the BBM Twitter page, guys. If you'd like to check out BBM on X, I believe their Twitter is at BBM Cards.
Yeah, that sounds right.
And it's, like you said, it's all in Japanese, and this new insert set they have looks amazing. The acrylic insert set, and it looks like they have to print it on autos, but I mean, even still, these cards look beautiful.
If I recall, I think, are they rounded edges?
Yeah, they have rounded edges.
Almost like glass.
It says BBM Ambitious.
They came out with that line, was it 22, I believe?
Okay.
So it's another set. They used to have, the women's set used to be called True Hearts. Then they switched it, and now it's just women pro wrestling cards. And they still have that. And then this is the secondary set that they offer. It's the Ambitious set.
Yeah, I mean, the designs look amazing. It's cool, too, because you're looking, and I see they have Hikaru Shida, they have Kairi Sane, and a lot of other wrestlers. Obviously, I'm not as hip to because I'm not as aware of the product, but it's just... Oh, go ahead. Sorry, Rich.
I would say if you the Shida card from a few years ago when she won her first AEW title, if you see the images of the card, she's holding the AEW belt.
Oh, that's sick.
On the front and the back of the card. Before AEW ever had cards printed for anything, so basically she has the first card showing an AEW belt in a card, which is kind of nice for future trivia.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's definitely nice, too, that Tony allows them to do those types of things, too.
Definitely.
The fact that Shida, a lot of BBM cards, when I looked up some of these autos, there's a lot of Shida stuff. available. Super, I didn't have this on my list, super random. I saw this card that I believe Caleb, shout out Caleb, collecting with Caleb, I believe it's his Twitter, I gotta double check that, but he had this Maki Ito card where it was like her dipped in chocolate or something.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, what's the story with those? Like, what's going on with that? I saw he was saying a pretty valuable card. So is there any backstory behind those cards? Is that something they do with a lot of wrestlers? Is that special for her, or how does that work out?
They that year they did I think it's a 9-card short print set for 9 different women in the set.
Okay.
And they all had like alternate images compared to what their regular card was.
Right.
And yeah, she happened to be the one. And there's actually even more rare than that is the autograph dipped in chocolate card, which is
I didn't even know that existed. That's crazy.
It's impossible to find. I think it's numbered to 30, 30 or 40. Wow. Yeah, it's super duper tough to find.
Yeah, because he was posting up. He's like, "Yeah, this is a big card, blah blah," and I was like, "What's happening? Like, what's the context of this?" I was just so, I mean, I'm a red-blooded American male, so I get it. But at a certain point, I was just like, "What's going on here? What's the context?" I was just. It's one of those things too. When I was in Japan, sometimes, especially when you're in Japan or a foreign country in general, you just kind of gotta put your hands up and enjoy the ride.
Yeah,
you know what I mean, and just kind of be like, all right, this is cool. It's something different, something out of the norm. Because
this is normal for them. This is not normal for me, but I'll go with it.
Right. I actually, again, not normal for. I keep bringing up this podcast, but the Jericho with Mariah May, and she was talking about when she went over there. She really had to, what she said, kawaii her outfit. So it's like, she's like, I'm over there, I'm attractive. People realize I'm attractive, but I started wearing like a tutu over there and started wearing all these other things that people in the States would be like, what the hell are you doing? And in there, it's so like, in particular, you look at Riho, who comes out, she's always wearing the tutu, wearing a very, like, when I think of Joshi wrestling, a lot of times I think of Riho because a lot of the images and videos I've seen from over there, and again, I'm not nearly as well versed as you, a lot of this is just on Twitter and all that, they're wearing similar outfits to her.
Presentation. Yeah. It's the presentation. It's exactly what it is.
Yeah, no, it's fascinating. I mean, I'm hoping, talking to you makes me really want to, like, go and watch. So do you watch on New Japan, like the New Japan World app, or like how do you really consume your Joshi and Japanese wrestling?
The Stardom app. It's
they have a separate app for Stardom.
Yeah. The only issue with Stardom is the shows are recorded and they're not put online for sometimes it's a week, sometimes it's 10 days. Sometimes it's a month because a lot of their shows, as you were saying, multiple shows a month, they do them as pay-per-views. And so after the 30 days, then they put them on their app. And that's a big complaint because people are like, why am I paying $9.99 a month and I'm not getting this stuff same day as the New Japan? You guys stream everything on New Japan on there.
Right.
Why would you not do that here?
I mean, I'm confused as a consumer, and again, this is all new to me, but as a consumer, it seems like it makes sense to just have one app for both of them, especially since they own both of them.
You would think, right?
Yeah, like as someone like yourself, I'm sure you would like to just spend money once and preferably less to get everything.
Yeah. It's instead of spending $9.99 a month on each app, make it $14.99 for both and have at it.
Yeah. Is there, again, I'm fascinated by how quickly consumed Japanese wrestling, like especially Joshi wrestling, because we haven't really touched on overall Japanese wrestling cards, just Joshi. How you're saying how quickly devoured this product is when you look at how much AEW, WWE is just, how many blaster cases of Prism are out there, right?
Yeah.
So is there any cards to you that you would point to and be like, that's my favorite set, or a card that really has stood out to you, or like, is there anyone in particular you collect when it comes to Joshi wrestling cards?
I do. I collect Thekla, who's in Stardom. She's currently tagging up with Julia.
Oh, nice.
she's from Austria, so yeah, it's pretty cool. Tend to lean towards her stuff and buy her cards. The biggest set I went after and I completed was the last year Stardom did their own standalone set in 2019.
Okay.
It took me completed it like a year and a half ago. I needed one card and I finally got it. There's like 40 something autographs in there. It's the last autographs of Hana Kimura. Yeah, it's a pretty big set, pretty big names in there. Yeah, so that was a fun chase, not knowing it would be their last product that they released, that they would self-produce and release themselves.
Interesting. It's just for them, it's just not worth the time. There's not, because what you're saying, you would think if it's selling out so quickly that they'd be more inclined to make not only more runs of the cards they have, but like different sets, different lines, or anything like that. Because one thing I've learned from American wrestling cards is that selling women's wrestling cards usually seems to be an easier sell.
Yeah, they so Stardom, they printed the cards themselves. Obviously, the talent signed them. They hand packaged them into packs themselves, but the packs weren't they weren't sealed like foil or anything. They basically would take like a team bag, and there'd be 10 cards with a fold over picture describing the set, just with a checklist on the back, into a team bag, and it would be sealed up, and that's how they sold them. $10.
That's wild.
Yeah.
That's wild. And there was like nice autos in that set, huh?
Oh, it's crazy. You get a pack and there might be one autograph, but then you get a special pack and there might be 3 or 4 autographs in there.
Wow.
The correlation it made no sense. And then you'd run into like a string of like 6 packs where you had no autographs. Just, it did not make sense. It was like whoever grabbed the stack that time, just putting them in packs. Yeah.
Right. So you got really lucky or totally screwed. I mean,
exactly.
That's how a hobby box can be a lot of times anyways. I opened an AEW Metal last night and I hit a Max Caster at a 199 for the whole box. And I'm like, damn it. And then, I opened 2 more and I got 2 Intimidation Nation autos, including a Jamie Hayter. So it's like, you can't be too mad at that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Jamie Hayter's in that set, the 2019 Stardom set.
So is that her rookie card? Because I know that there was a specific Jamie Hayter Joshi auto card that people had been like going around. I'd love to grab one if they ever came out. I'm sure they're pretty pricey at this point. As I said, women's cards tend to sell higher in my experience, or at least be quicker sells, I should say.
Yeah, you don't see them pop up at all, basically. I think her popularity, the people that had them that wanted to make money, they sold them, and they, back 2-3 years ago, you could get them for $20-$30, and they skyrocketed to $200-$300 easy.
Jeez. I mean, it's funny because I remember the first time I saw Jamie Hayter, she was with B. Priestley, aka Blair Davenport in NXT now, when they were at AEW at the beginning of AEW, and then the pandemic happened, and Jamie, like, during the pandemic, I guess, lost a decent amount of weight, because I remember she came over with B. Priestley, and they were doing stuff. I never heard anyone talk about her, and I'm like, she looks cool, like, I'm interested, I'm interested to see what happens to her. And then she came back and lost all that weight, and now all these people are like, oh, Jamie, and I'm like, damn, I didn't hear anyone talk about her before that.
Yeah, she became a workout freak, like, during the pandemic. Like, you could tell she completely changed her look, everything.
Yeah, because when I first saw them, I thought, B. Priestley, the way they were presenting her, like, she looked more lined up to become a bigger star.
Yeah, and definitely.
Then, I guess something happened with the pandemic, but she didn't come back to AEW. Next thing I know, she's in NXT UK, and Jamie Hayter's still in AEW, and now not only is in AEW, but getting a great push, and people are super. I get asked about Hayter a lot.
Yeah.
A lot. I think I asked this, just clarifying again. You were saying the best place to find out about new releases and potentially try to buy cards is follow BBM's Twitter page.
Follow their Twitter page for the info. Buying card wise,
for sealed stuff, because eBay for singles and stuff like that makes sense. But I had a couple. Let me look it up. I'm in this big wrestling group chat, and it's funny because they started talking about BBM cards today completely unsolicited. I didn't even tell him I was doing this till after. He sent me this app or his website called buy.jp. And there's
it's a buying service. So
And
they act as your middleman.
okay.
So you put your information on their website. They buy it for you with your info. They ship it to their location, and then from there, when it gets there, they'll notify you. You have 30 days to get it shipped to you. You can if you buy 10 different items, they'll bundle them together for you to save on shipping, and then you get them shipped to you whenever.
That's pretty cool. I have a lot of customers do similar stuff like that with Whatnot, where they're like in the UK and they'll just do a bunch of Whatnot stuff and get it shipped in one order. Another website they sent me was Pro Wrestling Shop Champion.
I've seen that shop. I've never used them though.
Okay. I just figured it was worth asking you because for me, one of the main, I wouldn't say deterrents, but one of the main issues I've come across is trying to figure out, like, where do I buy these? You know what I mean? It's like, where do I find these? Where can I buy them? Because usually if I'm buying stuff, I'm trying to buy like a case or boxes at least. You know, I'm usually not as big on singles. It's more like, let me get some boxes, let me get some cases to break this, which my guy, he told me to shout him out. My guy, the Piazza guy who streams on Whatnot, recently did a BBM break on there. Not too long, little Joshi break, not too long ago. I'm trying to find the stream, but Whatnot changed their website, so I can't even look up the product off the top of my head. But he said he did pretty well off of it. You know, there's definitely an interest. Going back to what you're talking about, you as a collector, do you more so collect just because, you know, you're like, oh, I like this wrestler, or is it more so like, because for me personally, I'm more of a, I like to prospect. I'm big on prospecting when I collect. I'm like, you know, my main PCs, Carmelo Hayes, Jade Cargill, MJF, Grayson Waller, and like Mello and Jade, I started like super early on. So is that something you look for? Are you kind of going and trying to prospect, or are you just like, I'm a fan of her, I just want to collect her stuff? Like, how does that work for you?
If I catch on with somebody and I like their presentation, I like their style, I'll collect them. But probably 99% of the time, I'm just an autograph collector. So really, I don't mind who the wrestler is as long as I get an autograph of theirs.
Okay, I can respect that.
Pack pulled. On card for, a meet and greet it's nice, but I like the pack pulled.
There's too many variables in there, man. You just don't know. Like,
unless I'm getting it myself, that's right. One thing. But like I think right now I'm at about 700 different autographs.
Wow.
And that's WWE, AEW, Impact, and Japanese wrestling combined.
No, that's impressive. It's funny you said the thing about pack pulled, because I remember early on in Whatnot, I had this guy freak out on me because he wanted to trade me 2 Funko Pops. He got signed at an event for some Panini autos I had. And I'm like, is there a certificate of authenticity? I don't even like Funkos, I'm going to be honest. But I was like, is there a certificate of authenticity? He's like, no, but I got it. You can trust me. And I'm like, dude, like, if I'm trying to flip these, trust me, bro, ain't going to work. You know, like,
I've never seen the COA say, trust me, bro.
Yeah, I mean, dude, and he got like, the dude ended up blocking me. It's another story. But it was just, I was like, dude, like, I'm more than down to trade these to you, but like, I didn't buy them to break even or take Funko Pops that I don't even want / aren't certified. You know, I can't even flip these.
Yeah.
I would say I was going to start going into more about your book. Is there anything that you feel like I missed in terms of asking you about Joshi cards that you feel like people who are new to this should be knowing, or any tips or suggestions that you would have in regards to starting your journey on collecting Joshi cards? I know personally, like after talking to you and some of the other stuff I've seen, I'd really like to, buy a box or 2 and just rip them on the YouTube page and just like, see what happens. Maybe even try to mix them into some breaks I'm doing over here. You know what I mean? Like, just something different. Like, is there any more insight you can give us? You've already given us so much, Rich. I'm selfish.
Really, it's, if you find somebody you want to collect, do a little digging, look up their name, look up trading cards. Google search is amazing, especially if you type in BBM with the name. The chances are there might be an image that pops up. It might be, something that's sold on eBay recently or something that has been sitting on eBay. It's a good place to start. It's just, the big thing is, there is a lot of competition because there are a lot of people that do like individual wrestlers, and
it sounds
there's
limited too.
There's not enough
limited
to go around for everybody.
Yeah, well, that's good though. As a collector, though, that means that what you're buying is going to maintain value, which is
of
nice
course.
too. Yeah.
Be happy with the base card, or get a couple of their base cards, base rookies, and hopefully, in a year or two, they come over to the States and you meet them in person. You get them to sign their rookie card. It's a great way to start. As opposed to trying to find the number to 100 autograph that's going to cost you $300.
Right, $300. Wow.
I mean, depending on who it is, it's...
Yeah. Well, I was surprised that Jamie, I told you I pulled yesterday, Intimidating Nation 25, not Joshi in terms of like the card set, but
sure,
the last one comped at 340. Like, that's pretty damn good for a number to 25 card, in my opinion.
I can't imagine what her rookie autograph would go for these days.
Dude, I just want to have one because, like I said, people are going to think I'm weird this, right? A lot of the times when I start collecting people, when I first started collecting Mello and Jade, I literally just saw them and I was just like, I think they have it. It's like I didn't even really see them wrestle that much. It was just like an eye test thing. I was just like, they look the part. I saw Mello in the ring. I'm like, all right, I started with Jade before she was even in the ring because you can just tell she has that look.
She has a superstar look to her.
Right.
Her presentation says I'm a star.
And even Jamie Hayter, I saw her before the whole workout thing, and I was like, I don't know, there was something about her that interested me. And I was like, yeah, I'm going to keep an eye on her. And now seeing her go crazy is just, I wish I had bought more earlier on at the time, but I wasn't in the thick of it like I am now, so to speak.
Yeah.
So, hindsight's always 20/20, as they say.
Oh, definitely.
Okay, so now that we're coming to this part of the pod, I'd love to ask you more about the fact that you actually wrote a book, Rich, which is pretty cool. A lot of work, I can imagine, went into that. If you guys are interested, you can check it out on eBay. 2022 Japanese Pro Wrestling Trading Card Almanac Premier Edition, currently out now. Definitely check it out. How long did this take you to put together? I can tell, I was going to ask what inspired you to do this, but obviously I can tell you're passionate about the product already just by talking to you.
Yeah.
So like, what put you over the edge of being like, all right, let me make this? Like, it was a large process, but like, what was the process in terms of like, getting it printed, figuring out what you thought was worth being in there? Because it's a pretty thick book, guys. This is dense. It's not like a little pamphlet here. Like, the man Rich put time into this. So what inspired you? How has it been so far? And like, what has this been like being a published author now?
It was a labor of love. It was what I refer to it as my COVID baby, because basically, couldn't go out and do anything, so I would spend 4, 5, 6 hours a night just looking up stuff on the internet, trying to get checklists together. It started. I started trying to accumulate Minoru Suzuki certified autographs. And I got a few of them, and it started hitting me like, I wonder how many he has and how many different products.
Right.
And so, you'd see a few cards here or there, and they pop up, and I'm like, okay, well, let me see if I can find, like, is there a list somewhere where somebody has a checklist, like, this is what he has. Started doing a search, and I'm like, man, there's nothing out there. So then start looking at, Okada. Let's see if he's got any autographs anywhere. Start looking up Okada. Okay, he's got a couple rookie, he's got a rookie card. He's got a couple autographs in the early BBM stuff. Then it's like, but there's nothing written down. There's nothing checklist anywhere. And I'm like, all right. So I started making my own checklist, trying to figure out. It started as, okay, let me take the top 50 wrestlers that I would want their rookie cards and their autographs.
Right.
And as I got through that list and I started looking, and I'm like, you know what? Like, maybe there just needs to be something documented where people can find this information. So then when I started putting a checklist here or there, together, grab another one. After, about probably the first 2 weeks, I had probably like 30 sets written down, where I was like, okay, let me start this here and see where it goes. And I started putting them down and keying them in and, copy and pasting. And soon I was like, I wonder if anybody be interested in this. And then I just kept growing because I would find another set that I didn't know about, add it to a list. It just started to grow and grow and grow, and it turned into what was printed. 306 pages of basically a checklist to find cards that see if they exist.
Hey, I've had lots of customers tell me about, their search for checklists about, specific wrestlers. My friend Sherry in Australia, she's a big Keith Lee collector, and she went out of her way to find all these like older sets and all this stuff, and has this massive check sheet she's made for herself just so she can keep track of every single Keith Lee that she has. But I mean, it's cool, definitely, considering you're doing much more of a niche product, so being able to have something like that, you're not going to find it on like Cardboard Connection or Beckett or something like that.
No, it's Cardboard Connections, the WWE and AEW stuff, they have info. Trading Card Database has information, but that's basically what's been supplied to them, which they have a decent amount, but it's not complete. Wrestling Trading Cards, Tony and Paul, they do a great job on that website. That's pretty up to date these days. So it's just a matter of getting the information, putting it together, and just having people have access to it. It's the day I sent it to the printer, I was already working on the next edition. So it's
I was about to ask you that too. It seems like one of those things where it's like you're gonna have to keep updating it, keep updating it, keep it growing, all that type of thing.
I when I was told I had to stop finding new stuff because it would never get printed if I wanted to reach the date that I wanted to get it done. And so I sent it to the printer. I was still working on a set that had just recently came out a couple weeks prior to that, and I was like, well, I can't put it in there because it's not done. So I think right now I'm probably around like 35 brand new sets to add to the next book. Wow. Plus, I'm still research. The biggest one that I just finished a few weeks ago was the 2001 FMW complete set. I had very little info. Over like the last 8 months, I was able to get like 75% of the set. I bought a couple lots, and then the best thing that ever happened, if you ever want to do this, is you get the checklist cards that come out in sets. It's a pretty easy way to figure out what's in the set, based on the checklist. Of course, though, they throw little things here and there that aren't included in the set every once in a while. So I'm still discovering those, but for the most part, I have that set finally completed. So that'll be in the next book.
And guys, for the record, if you're not hip, I believe FMW is the promotion that was originally started by Onita back in the day.
In Hayabusa. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So I mostly got my information on that from Dark Side of the Ring, to be honest. So as I get a lot of information from. Great show, by the way, if you guys haven't watched it. But looks like we have 5 minutes left on the Zoom. Rich, is there any closing thoughts we have here, buddy? Again, I just want to say I really appreciate you coming on and taking this time. I hope in the future perhaps we can do another one and talk more about the New Japan side and other Japanese, maybe the men's trading cards or anything else of interest. I really hope to make this a resource for people, because I feel like I learned a lot today just listening to you, because I don't really know as much, but I really hope this can become a resource for collectors moving forward.
Yeah, my communication channels are open for anybody that's wanting to learn about it, information about it. I'm always eager to help. If I can help somebody find a card, if I can connect somebody with a card, it's pretty cool to get other people involved and collect. Wrestling cards are cool, but Japanese wrestling cards are just like that much cooler, though.
Oh, definitely. I mean, like I said, I might be I don't know, next time I see a box, I might have to hit you up and see if you can help me procure one of these, because at least, like I said, if I can get one to just open up on my YouTube page or something, just to have,
Yeah.
But having said that, I feel like if I get one, knowing me, I'm probably gonna
Do it yourself.
yeah, I've ripped cases and half cases to the head before on Whatnot. So like, it's I that's my problem is I could really see myself doing those types of things. So
Yeah.
but
Yeah, like I said, the new release of the BBM Ambitious it's releasing on Christmas Day in Japan.
ooh,
So
okay.
start checking eBay and start checking your sites because they're gonna fly.
So the
And
sites being what, the BBM Twitter page and
BBM, eBay, Google
eBay,
search.
Google
Yeah,
search.
it's
Okay.
I mean, once it'll probably be a few weeks before they hit stateside after the release, but once they start coming, they're gonna dry up eventually, really quick. I thought I heard from somebody that the print run is not gonna be what a normal the True Heart set was back in earlier in the year.
It's nice to have built-in rarity though, a little bit of, hey, go buy it now. It drives up the demand.
And
But also, legitimately, they don't have a lot, guys.
And they have some really good names in there. I mean, names that people are going to recognize. WWE, AEW. Like there's names in there that people.
Oh yeah, I saw Shida and Kairi already, and I'm sure there's more names, and I'm sure Julia's in there too, and people are really hot on her. So I'm curious to see what ends up happening with her moving forward.
Julia won't be in the set.
She won't be. Ooh.
No.
Okay.
No. It's a bushy road, and they don't license out that talent for other people to make money.
Checks out.
but all the other promotions in Japan will have Joshi wrestlers in there.
Okay. Well, hey, I'm gonna try to see if I can cop a box. We'll see. Again, guys, shout out my guy Rich Velligan. He's the author. Again, 2022 Japanese Pro Wrestling Trading Card Almanac Premier Edition. You could buy a copy off of eBay. You could also hit Rich on Twitter. I believe it's R Velligan, correct?
Yep.
So Velligan is VELLIGAN, R Velligan on Twitter. I'm sure he would sell you a copy straight up if you wanted, maybe even sign it for you. I don't know if you want him to kiss it like a kiss card, but I'm sure he's more than willing, like he said, to talk to you. And if you have any more info or questions after the pod, feel free to hit my guy up. Rich, again,
definitely.
Appreciate it, man. Thank you for your time.
I appreciate it. It was fun.
Well, guys, that was the long-awaited Joshi card episode. I know it's a little all over the place, and there's a lot more that we could go into. I know some of you guys who are actually into Joshi cards are like, wait a minute, you forgot this, this, and this. Well, hopefully I'll have Rich or other people on to talk more about Joshi and Japanese wrestling cards in the future. Again, shout out Rich Velligan. I appreciate you coming on. I actually bought some of those BBM Ambitious boxes. Talking to him got me very excited, and seeing my guy, the Piazza guy, ripping some BBM New Japan Stardom stuff on Whatnot got me super excited. So I ended up buying a case of that. So you'll see me ripping some of that on Whatnot probably when I get back from Florida in like mid-January, just waiting to see when it shows up. Just want to thank everyone again for checking out the podcast. This is episode 8. I really appreciate everyone who listens. Make sure to like, share, subscribe. Tell your friends about us, man. The more viewers and listeners and other stuff that we get, the more cool stuff we can do. So again, guys, appreciate everyone. If you want to support me, go to the Shui Nostalgia website, buy a t-shirt or some other branded stuff, maybe buy some action figures. Check me out on Whatnot at Shui Nostalgia. We do a bunch of wrestling breaks, streams, other stuff, have a lot of good times. Check out the Shui Wrestling Network on District. Again, great community we have there, group chat, place where you get to sell stuff. It's a marketplace, like I'm saying. We do breaks there. I have other breakers breaking there as well. Check out the Shui Wrestling Facebook group. Have a great 2024, guys. I hope 2023 was great for you, and I hope you enjoyed your time hanging out or listening to me, guys. I appreciate you more than you know. Thanks. Have a great year, guys.